Dear students, we have been discussing about module 2. This has been related with the cross sectional elements, and then towards the later time we have started discussing about the road furniture. In the previous interaction, we were discussing about road traffic signs, and therein we talked about the requirements. We looked at what are the categorization of those signs, and then under those categorization we have discussed about the regulatory signs, mandatory signs, prohibitory signs and warning signs. Now, today we are going to continue with this, and we are going to talk about the information signs and the placement and orientation of these signs with respect to the carriageway, so that the information can be passed on to the drivers or the motorist in a proper manner, which can ensure the safety as well as the efficiency of the road network system. If you remember, in the previous one we talked about the information signs, and towards the end what we were discussing about that there are three different colors which are being used if we are utilizing them to show the various cities or the cities which are going to be approached by that particular road. And there we have talked about the blue background, we have talked about the green background, and we have also talked about the white background. Apart from those, we may also be required to provide the information on the various types of facilities which are available along the road, so that the motorist, if they require so, can utilize them. Now, when we talk about these facility signs, then these are usually on blue background, the symbols are black, and these black symbols are being placed on a small white background. If there is a utility and the requirement of the arrows to be placed, they are placed in black, and in some of the cases you may find that a definition plate is also being attached below the sign. So, if you look at on the right hand side, there are certain signs being shown. The first one defines that there is an airport ahead, the another one talks about a bus stop, the third one talks about the possibility of having a cycle rickshaw stand, or there is a parking which is being dedicated for the cycle rickshaws, then the definition plate has been utilized here, and this definition plate is defining for which particular type of vehicle this parking has been provided. There may be a case of a petrol pump which is on a particular site or related to the medical emergencies. So, you can have a first aid, you can have a small hospital or a public primary center, health center, or for the small refreshment also there are possibilities. So, those signs are there, or on the expressways usually we talk about that the phones needs to be installed. So, there can be a sign for that also. Then eating place is another thing, we talked about these particular signs as such. There can be a resting place, so there may be a motel, there can be a hotel. So, that can also be identified by way of these particular signs being provided. If you have this type of a sign, it tells you that there is a through road ahead, or there may be a possibility that if you are going and you take a right turn or a left turn, then you are going to get a through road. All of these cases they are again talking about the parkings, and these parkings are being specified by the definition plates which have been placed below these particular signs. And there what you can find is, in the first case it says that there is a parking on the right hand side, and the three cases it talks about the parking for a specified vehicle. The other category of signs which are there, they are defined as a route marker signs, and these route marker signs are important to define that on which particular category of road we are moving. Say we are talking about a state highway, then on a state highway we are utilizing this green color background, and the numbers tells that this is an state highway 10 or a state highway 75, whatever it is, and for which particular state it is, that is also being defined in that. If you are talking about a national highway, then the national highway we are utilizing this color yellow, and the inscribed values are in black. When you are talking about the national expressways, then the blue background is being used, and the material which is being depicted there is in white. And this AH is an Asian highway which may be connecting the adjoining countries with a particular country. So, in that sense this Asian highway can be there, and here again the color code is a greenish, but there is a slight difference in the color code between the two. Apart from these, there are a number of other signs which needs to be provided, and they are very specific sometimes in nature or provides a specific information. Say we are talking about the first category where we need to inform the persons with different abilities that there are certain things which are available for them ahead. Say there is a parking which is dedicated for the vehicle in which such people are traveling, and for that reason we have this particular sign, and here it is being written like parking. So, this is a location where the parking is being provided. So, this sign is being placed at the top of the post and just in front of that particular parking area where the vehicle can be stopped. Associated to that, what you can see is that there is another sign which is being placed at the top of the pavement surface. So, there is a parking stall and this sign is being depicted there which says that if you are not in this particular category, then kindly do not park your vehicle here. The vehicles which are going to be parked here, they are related to the people who are having different abilities or disabilities, and that vehicle can be parked. Nowadays, the IT system has been utilized and the traffic has been managed by way of that. And if we are utilizing that, then there are possibilities that we can do many things in terms of the enforcement with respect to the traffic by utilizing these particular type of things. Say there are CCTV cameras which have been installed. Now, if we install those CCTV cameras, or if we are going to have any sort of a violation which we are going to capture by any means, say there is a red light violation, the red light is there but the driver is not looking at it and just moves ahead, or there is a stop line violation that the vehicle should stop before the stop line and say it is moving ahead, or there is a speed violation because on a particular route or a road or a section it says that the speed should not be more than 60 kilometers per hour or 80 kilometers per hour, and you move on the speed more than that. So, in all of such cases we are going to enforce it through a type of system. So, we need to tell the driver that you are under a particular zone where you have been watched, and there is a possibility that if you violate anything you are going to be penalized for that. And then what type of penalty is going to be there is also if being told, then that is going to be an additional feature here. Another important type of signs are variable message signs, which are also in short being defined as VMS. Now, these VMS, variable message signs, one example is being shown at the bottom here. It says reduce speed, construction ahead, but on the same board other words are also being written or they are also being used, but the LED at the back of it is not being lit, and therefore, whatever is the information which is to be given is being depicted. Say here in this case, because of the construction, the speeds needs to be reduced. Say if there is an accident, if there is a congestion, if there is a closure of a road, any such thing can be informed to the drivers in the dynamic mode. So, here there is no requirement of keep changing the boards. So, the same board is being utilized for providing n number of or n type of informations to the driver. Say some examples are already being given here. Say there is an alternate route because there is a road being closed or it is under maintenance. So, you take some or other route, or there is a congestion ahead and therefore, if possible you can take some other route and go ahead, or there is an incident take place, some crash has occurred. So, that is also being intimated, and because of that there may be a possibility of delays. So, that also is also being intimated. The weather conditions, there is a heavy rain or flooding is there because of that, then that can also be notified. Any other type of warnings or notices etc., they can be done by utilizing this VMS. One another important category is a black spot sign. Now, this black spot sign you have studied before also in the accident analysis and studies. They are related with those particular locations where the propensity of the crashes are more or the history is there with those crashes. So, if they have been identified, then that has to be informed to the driver priorly, so that they can take control of their speeds as well as look around and see that what needs to be done so as to ensure their safety. Look at some other important signs. What you found is the first one. This is actually a sign which tells that this is an area where the aircrafts are flying low. The another one tells that there is a congestion on this particular section. So, a queuing is going to be there. This one is that there is a work in progress and a man on walk. So, this is being depicted, and what you can see here is a reflectivity color is being utilized. So, there is a reflectivity of it when during the night time the light falls on that. The another one is that there are pedestrians ahead, and again the color is being utilized. So, just to make it more prominent to the drivers, this is regarding the pedestrian crossing. So, the normal sign is this one, but then it is being placed on a rectangular board again with the color yellow, which is reflective in nature, and this is going to create a cautionary conditions in the mind of the driver to look around and manage the speeds. This sign is related to the cycle lanes or the cycle tracks. There may be a possibility of people who are having a visual impairment. So, those signs are there, or a deaf and dumb people are more at a particular location, that can also be intimated to the drivers. Industrial area or a developed area is there, then that can be defined. There is a possibility that a particular location has a propensity of crashes, and then that needs to be told to the driver. So, it can be done by using this type of a yellow color, which is restrictive in nature and tells the driver there is something happening here, or it can also be placed in this form where even the information is also being depicted that in the last 3 years there had been 10 fatalities on this particular location or a stretch, and therefore, you should be cautious enough while driving. Now, this sign is related with the archaeological conditions of a particular area. So, this is a heritage area and that can be marked. This one is related to that there are habitations. All of these signs, they are related with the information being depicted in different colors. Here you can see the prominence of the brown color which is being used, and it tries to tell you the information about all those locations which are having the heritage value. And even the photograph can also be utilized to define that what type of a monument you are going to visit ahead, or there can be a route map, so that you can identify that if you want to go to some other location, then how to take a particular route, or what is the utility, or what is the functional, or what is the attraction value of a particular city. Those things can also be depicted by way of utilizing these type of signs. Here other informations are being there. So, you can see that this is in the urban area, we can utilize. So, which particular direction what we have, or at the front of a particular building we can see that there is a corporation office. This one is related to the international borders of a country. This is related with the laybys. These laybys can be used by trucks or by buses. This is related to the railway crossing ahead. Another one is related with the intermediate public transport or informal transport, which can be there, and there is a stand for it. So, that is being depicted. This is related with the movement through the cable. This one is defining that there is a toll road ahead. This defines that there is a camping site, and another one at the bottom corner towards the left defines that there is a lot of activity ahead. It is a home zone or a residential zone. So, be careful. Now, this one is defining that this is a ETC lane. So, you are just getting into it. This one is related with the bus lane. Here it is a bus lane with a counter flow. Then these two, they are related with the park and ride system, but by way of defining that what type of mode is there with respect to which the parking is being done. So, it is a park and ride for bus system, and this is a park and ride for a metro system. Here this is a pick up and drop point. So, usually like near schools or any other such location, say the terminals. So, there also we can provide these type of things and can be depicted by this way. Then charging stations for the electric vehicles. Nowadays, we are talking about electric vehicles. Fire extinguisher availability or the emergency exit in a building. So, these are different things which are there, which can be told. Here the other important signs are like what you can see is that we are talking about many of the violations here, and that is being depicted that there is a speed camera and the speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour. Be cautious, you are going to be caught. Another one says that you have to stop. If you are not stopping, then there is going to be a penalty, and that penalty is being defined. Or there is a red light violation, and if there is a red light violation, then again there is going to be a penalty. So, it is predefined and informed to the drivers. During this period of COVID, we also talked about the social distancings, and these social distancings has been something like 6 feet distances, or when you are going up and down then translates into 8 steps. So, that sort of information, if required, can be also provided. Now, what you can see is the change in the color here, because they are all hazardous situations. So, therefore, the red color is being utilized here so as to depict and give that information to the drivers. Now, this one is related with that there is a railway crossing ahead, as I said, and there are 2 bars here, and these 2 bars are defining that this is at 200 meters ahead. If there has been a 1 bar, then it means that was as 100 meters ahead. Here, keep clear, no, do not park your vehicle, and that is being defined from 8 to 9:30 in the morning and 4:30 to 6:30 in the evening from Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday is okay, no problem in that, or there may be some other type of ruling. At the top, what you see is one thing which you usually find out at a toll plaza at the top of the canopy, where it defines that on the left hand side you have a cash lane and the rest of the lanes are ETC lanes or the fast tag lanes, and they are being defined also by the type of vehicle which should be there in a particular lane. And while doing that, when you are going to have a fast tag and it is to be read, a certain distance needs to be maintained between the vehicles, and that is what is being defined in this particular one. Or there is also another sign which tells you that at how much distance now the toll plaza is there. So, it starts from 1000 meters ahead, and then say this one is talking about 500 meters, and additionally it is also giving an information that if you go towards the left, then that is a cash lane, but if you keep right, then it is a fast tag lane. So, this is a type of information which is being passed on. Now, once we have an ample idea about the various types of signs which can be there under different categories, now another important thing which needs to be looked at is that where and how these signs are going to be placed. Most of the time these signs needs to be placed on the left hand side of the carriageway. They are repeated on the right side. Subjective, there are problems with respect to the side distances. So, there are different type of vehicles which are there, and a lot of traffic is there on a road, and there is a wide system, there is a 3-lane, 4-lane system on one direction. In that case, the side distances are going to be obstructed, and therefore, there may be a requirement to provide these signs on the right hand side too. On hill roads, it is to be provided on the valley side, but if there is certain constraints, then we can go towards the hillside. So, that is another thing. Now, ground mountings should be 300 mm to 3 meters from the carriageway or the paved shoulder. So, we have a carriageway like this, and say if we also have a shoulder, then whatever is being mounted in this form, this distance is what we are talking can be like 0.3 to 3 meters in this way. In certain cases, we need to go for a gantry mounted system. Gantry mounted system means that you have a roadway and then there is a gantry being provided in this form, and the signs are being placed at the top in this way, and the vehicles are moving at the bottom like this in their different lanes. So, this gantry mounted system, when we are talking about, it should be having this pole at minimum 7 meter from the nearest traffic lane. So, that is a distance which needs to be maintained. The reason here is that if tomorrow if we are going to have one more lane to be provided which is 3.5 meters, so still there is going to be a clearance of 3.5 meters being provided on this side, but this may not be possible in each and every case, and therefore needs to be reduced, and that reduced value is 1.8 meters. And this is also to be utilized in those cases where you have the interchanges or the ramps or the elevated systems where the entry and exits to the elevated corridors are there. So, on those particular locations also the distances are going to be reduced. Then another thing is that the minimum headway for signs, the minimum headway for signs from the top of the surface or a footpath is being talked here. So, it is like 2 meters, but on a footpath say 2.1 meters is what we talk about. So, that is how it is to be provided. So, this is what we are talking. So, this distance is 2 to 2.1 meters. Here we are talking about the placement of signs. This is a very important aspect. We cannot provide a sign, the road sign at any location at any distance from the point where the event is going to happen, where there is a hazardous situation going to occur, or you want to caution the drivers or the vehicles about that. So, the first one which is being talked here is the minimum headway for the mandatory signs, and this minimum headway of the mandatory signs is being defined as 1 meter above the paved surface. That means, if this is the surface at the top of which this mandatory sign is being provided, these mandatory signs are provided in terms of a cone, and then at the top of this cone this is fixed here. So, what we are talking is this particular distance, which is 1 meter. Another one is the minimum clearance between two signs. There may be a condition, there are multiple information which needs to be passed to the driver. In those cases, what needs to be done? So, we cannot have many signs at one location. So, if we are having two different locations, then this distance is defined as 0.6 V for the inter-urban roads, and V is the design speed. It means, if the design speed is 60 kilometers per hour, then this comes out to be 36 meters. Whereas, in the case of urban roads, the minimum 20 meter distance between the signs needs to be provided. Then speed limit nowadays is another important aspect which is going on in the urban areas, even on the national highways. So, if the speed limit sign is being provided, it is better the speed limit repeater signs are provided, so that the driver is warned again and again, and this is being done at a rate of 4 to 6 times of the speed. That means, if the speed is 50 kilometers per hour, so roughly we can say 5 times of that means 250 meters. So, the location where it is being going to happen from 250 meters from then, and then it keeps repeating continuously up to 2.5 kilometers if placed on the alternate side, and up to 5 kilometers if they are placed on the same side. So, this is how needs to be provided, and as the speeds increases, this ratio actually 4 to 6 keeps increasing. So, that is how you can understand that how this speed limit repeater signs are provided. Another one is a no parking sign. So, this is a location where the no parking sign is being provided, and at this particular location, when you say that a person cannot stand or say person cannot park, then this sign should be within 25 meters of the location where the no parking is going to be exercised, and then up to 100 meter distance, this can be repeated at a distance not more than 30 meters. So, that means, if I am placing one another sign here, then this distance should not be more than 30 meters, it should be less than 30 meters. So, it means there is a possibility of 3 or 4 such signs which are being placed alongside the no parking area. Clear visibility distance of the cautionary sign is defined as 1.1 times of the speed, design speed, and the distance of the sign from the hazard, it is being considered as 1 to 3 times of the design speed, and again as the speed increases, this value increases to 3. So, that is how the values can be taken up. In some cases, you may find that the road is something like this. So, if there are number of bands, then they needs to be provided at 50 to 100 meters ahead of the start of such section where number of bands are going to be there. If we are going to have a road with a gradient which is 10% and above, then in that case these are provided at 30 meters ahead of the section. Then transitions are also possible. So, you may be on a road like this and that it transforms into a bigger section, or it transforms from a bigger section to a smaller section. So, those possibilities are there. So, if we are transiting from single to dual carriageway, then they should be provided at around 100 meters ahead, but if it is from dual to single carriageway, then it can be 100 to 150 meters ahead. If there is a speed breaker to be provided on a road, so there is a road and we are providing a speed breaker here at this location. So, we are going to have a sign at a distance of 50 to 60 meters in advance of it. There is a barrier or railway crossing, as I said already, that it starts from 200 meters and then there is another sign which is at 100 meters. If U-turns are allowed, then 80 to 100 meters is the distance at which we should inform the driver that there is a U-turn ahead. Now, if we look at this particular diagram, now is this diagram what you found is that the signs have been shown how they are being placed at different locations under different conditions, and then what are the distances which needs to be maintained laterally as well as vertically. Say if you talk about this situation, this is a fill condition, a road is being constructed in an embankment, but there is no shoulder. So, in that case, from the edge of the carriageway we are talking about the distances, and that says that the distance should be 1 to 3 meters of this particular sign, and the height of this sign from the top of the carriageway, this should be 2 to 2.5 meters. So, we already said that this vertical clearance has to be minimum 2 meters or 2.1 meters in the case of say the footpath. So, this is 2 to 2.5 meter is what needs to be maintained. So, this is 1 to 3 meters and this one is 2 to 2.5 meters. Now, the another case can be that you have a carriageway and there is a shoulder also. So, in this case now the distances are going to be with respect to the shoulder, and there the distance of this can be 0.6 meters to 2.5 meters from the edge of the shoulder. Again the height is going to remain the same, that is 2 to 2.5 meters. But then it also defines that what should be the maximum height here. So, the maximum height here is this one, and this maximum height is being defined as up to 5 meters. Now, we said that when you are in a hilly area, then we should try to provide these signs on a valley side, but in some cases there may be a possibility that we need to do it on the hillside. So, the another thing, another clearance which is being talked towards the hillside of this particular sign is that this is 0.75 meters is the height from the ground surface. So, that minimum height needs to be provided on the other side. In an urban area, you have the carriageways, and those carriageways are being provided with the curved sections, maybe a median like here or a footpath as being shown on the other side. So, in this case what you have is that the minimum distance, because now you are having the restricted conditions. So, this becomes 0.3 meters to 1 meters, whereas this height it becomes 2.1 meters to 2.5 meters. And if you look at the curb side in the median case, then in this median case again this D remains the same as 2 to 2.5 meters, and C also remains the same as 0.3 meters to 1 meters. So, that is how we provide it on the median also. So, that remains the same as such, but this is a gantry girder type of a situation, where gantry girder should have a minimum height of say 0.55 to 6 meters. So, this is defined as a vertical clearance, because you may have overloaded trucks or big trucks or the double deck buses. So, the clearances needs to be there. So, this is why it is being defined in this form. Now, in the case of constrained conditions, as we said that there is a median on this side and this gantry pole is coming on the median, then this J is 1.8 meters to 2.5 meters. But if you have on a space on the other side, then in that case that particular space, if it is available, then we can have 5 to 9 meters of a distance from the this particular edge. So, you have a shoulder and verges, and then the verge area we are going to provide this particular pole of the gantry girder. So, that is how we are going to work in the case of the placement of signs. Now, we will be continuing with other things related to the placement of signs in the next lecture, and with that we conclude this particular lecture, and we will be looking at the other things in the next one. Thank you and bye till then.